Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of the Gibson Show. We're back in PUBG again, this time with Gunner Owen Monaghan from the Soniqs. It's strange. Has it wrong? Have you got used to that yet? It's a bit strange coming off the tongue, Gunner from the Soniqs.
Yeah, no, it took a little bit to get used to. At this point, I think I am used to it. So, yeah, definitely sounded a little weird at first, but yeah, it's settled in now.
So before we get into the interview, Owen Monaghan is a very Irish-sounding name.
Yeah, it sure is, yeah.
So we've got something in common there. There's some common ground.
We do, yeah. Except your accent's a little different than mine.
just a smidge, just a little.
Yeah.
Like I'm surprised whenever I'm covering scrims that they haven't asked for subtitles yet. Whenever
That's fair.
when things get exciting. But first off, welcome onto the show. Congratulations on your new role with the Soniqs. It's obviously going to be a tough one for you, jumping from a team that you've got such a good relationship with. You've worked with them for a long time, but you've now moved on to a team that's arguably the most successful team in the last couple of years inside of NA. You excited to get started?
Yeah, I mean, we have got, obviously we've gotten started. And yeah, it's been really good so far. The guys have been like really welcoming, and they, they take my information and input really well. And they respect me, so it's been a pretty easy transition, one of which obviously I wasn't sure, going into it, because obviously I just have worked with the SDK boys for so long. But yeah, I mean, they've been great, and they've made it really easy for me, and so has the Sonic staff. So yeah, it's been pretty good so far.
Yeah, because it's a bit of a grand switcheroo, it's almost like a transfer. Wooly went one direction, you went the other, so... And it's one of those things where you'd like to think that the change is going to benefit all parties. Sometimes change is good. You could add something special to the Soniqs roster, and obviously Wooly will be able to bring all of his experience that he has to STK as well. So it's shipped up, because in this early stages of season, looking at scrims, look at the results, STK looked like they've got the bit between their teeth again.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to Purdy beforehand. Obviously, losing Luke is like... that was pretty tough, because obviously statistically he's just been one of the best players in the world, like pretty much every international and even regional events. So, obviously losing him as well was pretty tough. But I mean, Purdy pretty much told me in all caps, like they're unsigned. They have nothing to lose. They're just full blown motivation. The way I kind of put it with me and Luke leaving was kind of like, the team went through a little divorce. And they started going to the gym, and now they're more motivated than ever, and I'm happy for them. Obviously, like I want to see them succeed. Like they are truly my close friends, and I don't have anything to say that's bad about any of them, and I was with them for almost 4 years, which is pretty crazy to say. So yeah, I mean, they're definitely just coming out firing on all cylinders, not giving a damn, and just like taking it to teams. And it's good to see, because at one point that's kind of how we played. Obviously we fell off a little bit. We all got complacent a little bit, including myself. So sometimes a team needs like a little change up and a little swap up, and for obviously it's still early, and we only played like the regional playoffs, but as of right now it's looking pretty good for them, so I'm happy for them.
Look, I think it's, as you said, Luke leaving's a big loss. I think Vegas coming in, he's a player with something to prove. Yourself, STK for some reason always play better whenever they're not orged up, so I'm excited to see how the year goes. And as a coach of Soniqs too, every other team in NA upping their level is only going to make every single team in NA stronger too. So if STK play at the best of their abilities, Elevate play to the best of theirs, Friendly Fire, LG, everybody playing at full tempo, full tilt, as we would say in Ireland, would help Soniqs too, because it'll make everybody better. As I like to say, the rising tide raises all boats. So if they can get things going, it'll 100% help you guys as well this year.
Yeah, I mean, if we see them fired up, LG fired up, and like some of the other teams, like obviously Wildcard left, they would have been like up there in the conversation, of course. But you got teams like FF, Third Eye, and even Elevate that just have a lot of potential on their roster. So, if we see these teams fired up and like, practicing and like really taking it serious and then performing, and, it obviously motivates us as well, because we still want to be the best. So if we see other teams getting better, then we need to continue to get better and like, not just kind of stay where we're at.
You said Third Eyes. I think as Toffee's pointed out, their logo is basically just friendly fires, but upside down.
That's good. Good.
I'd say if Toffee's didn't point that out, nobody would have noticed.
No.
I had no clue. But we'll talk a bit about Soniqs now. So obviously, you made the decision to move from STK. It would have been a tough one for you. You said you were with the team for a long, long time. How much time and how much thinking did it actually take to decide to make that jump? Because it is a big move going from two rival teams inside of NA, two of the only teams that have ever won anything at a domestic level, and one of those teams being one that you do have almost a brotherhood with the players because you'd been with them that long.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, obviously it was tough because of my relationship with the players, but at the end of the day, I kind of had to sit down and just look at like, I guess the landscape of PUBG and everything else. Obviously Soniqs with the GPT and already having a good amount of success. And then, the situation, like, I wasn't really made aware, but I was pretty sure obviously LG was going to let us go. So then obviously you don't have a paycheck or anything like that. And then, I kind of over the last couple of years, I've kind of had other offers from some other teams and stuff. I've never taken it. I've always like stayed loyal to STK no matter where we were. But I mean, this was an opportunity, obviously, that I couldn't pass up because there's 3 international events. I wanted to, and then obviously 2 of which were invited to on the Soniqs, and I wanted to come in and be like, you know what, like maybe I could help them win one of these. Like maybe I could do this, and so there was a challenge in itself, like of just doing that. Like, I mean, you could say I took the easy route, obviously, because like we're invited there, but in the grand scheme of things, like, I'm in no position where I could sit around at my age and pass up an opportunity like I was given, and I'm glad I didn't, like money aside, like these guys are really great. It's so fun to work with them every day. And they kind of just welcomed me in like, almost like we're a family, just like how I had with the STK guys. And so I don't regret it at all. I mean, not one bit.
It's a tight-knit community in NA anyway. So, you will have known those boys for years too. So it's not as if you were going to a strange location. And you spoke about maybe some people would say you took the easy route by jumping the Soniqs, but at the other side of the coin, doing that, you actually put more of a target on your back because there's more pressure on Soniqs now to perform because people expect you to be at the very top of your domestic region if you're already getting invites to these events. So there's always 2 ways to look at everything. And with that being the case, I wouldn't even question the guys' motivation because I know that Tiggleton, Shrimsy, H1, Mime, those guys, they're winners. They want to win. It's what they want to do. But how do you just make sure that even though you've got the invite secured already, how do you keep those guys fully sharp and ready to go and, building that form as we get closer and closer to that first event of the year?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, like, I like the way they work is like they just want to win everything and they believe they can win everything. So that mindset right there makes it easier for a coach to really, focus on like any events or any scrims, like, because they know obviously we have to practice to get better, and we need to work on things that we're doing poorly to get better. So like I don't think I've ever really I've never come across like a group of 4 guys that have been more like confident and motivated to be the best, which is, and it's good because it kind of it spreads to me as well, like like we obviously are in Discord early before scrims, going over comms, going over VODs. Like sometimes after scrims, like a couple of the guys will stay around, we'll go over stuff. I mean, I was just in Discord with Tig right prior to this interview. We were talking about things, going over stuff, just because he just finished his stream, right? So it's just like they're always around and they're always doing things. Like Atron comes into the Discord, he's like, "Oh yeah, I just looked over all the Asia games from last night. Like, there's some pretty cool stuff, pretty cool spots that these teams are playing." Like, and then we'll just fly around and replay and look at that. Like, so I mean, Mime streams at like 7 a.m. till whenever, and then takes a nap and then comes and plays freaking NA scrims. Like, and obviously Shrimsy's the same thing. He's like, scrims end, he's like, all right, I'm going to stream. Like, so it's just like, it's definitely a different environment because, like, these guys, they have their professional lives like within the team and the organization, which for me as a coach, I want to take priority, obviously, but they also obviously stream and make money off of that. But finding the balance between the two, like, obviously I can't get mad if they're grinding the game on their streams, but if it's game time, like, it's game time. And then they've came around really quick to know that, like, I'm a pretty serious guy. And everyone kind of has to put the game and the team first before any streams or any personality stuff that they got going on outside of the game. But like I said, they're so easy to work with, and they listen to me. Like, if I say, hey, we're doing this, like, they're just there and doing it, so it's been great.
So they bring in a military man as a coach, and then suddenly Tiggleton loses all the curls and gets as they would have said,
a haircut like me.
A haircut you could set your watch to. Is any correlation there at all, or are we just clutching at straws?
No, I don't think so. Like, I mean, I go to a military barber up here too, so I kind of always have like a military cut, unless unless my girl wants me to grow it out a little longer, but she does at times. But no correlation. He just went to a barber and they just messed his cut up, and he was just sitting there for a long time. So it is what it is. But
this is where you could have took credit. This is where you could have went, yeah, Tig looks up to me and admires me that much that he just wanted to look like you. But
yeah, no, exactly.
I think you're in a good spot. The way, when I look at Soniqs, obviously Tiggleton is so good at the game. I was going to say generational talent, but then again, esports is still so young, but you get what I mean. He's incredibly gifted at the game. But you got to realize too that when you look at just the way those guys look at the game, it's more than just mechanical ability. There's so much game knowledge and game sense in the team, and that's why they have so much success. There's multiple ways to look at the game. You've got teams like Luminosity who build a lot of success out of getting into good positions for the late game and picking up kills from those positions, whereas Soniqs historically are a team that are aggressive from start to finish. They get that good position after the first couple of minutes in the Pachiki Picado drops, and they're not afraid to take gunfights. So they're going into the late game with 6, 7, 8, 10 kills already in the bag, and that kind of gives you confidence. You know yourself as a coach. Right. If you're going into a late game and you've already got 6, 7 kills, you feel like you can win every single gunfight that you take. So
100%. Yep.
The question I have is, with you moving to the team and the team having that style of play, is that something you're happy with, or do you want to put the gunner twist on it, or do you just want to be the coach that will enable those guys to succeed?
Yeah. Like when I came into the team, like I pretty much told them, obviously, especially regionally, like I didn't join the team to reinvent the wheel, that they had going, because obviously it was working. So I really wanted to stray away from like how they, I guess, approach their regional games and stuff. Like obviously we'll go over the games after, and we'll say, hey, we could do this better, could do that better. But like I didn't just come into the team and be like, well, this is our play style now, this is what we're doing, like, because that's just foolish. Like obviously these guys know what they're doing and they've had success, which obviously, like you said, like almost is added pressure for me, and it's also like makes it a little more difficult to try and even get better and build off of the success that they had. And I think that's kind of like what we're doing, like it's obviously they really, really want to win, like one of the PGSs or PGC. Right now, obviously, we have to focus on NA, but the second we're done with NA, it's just full focus onto international, where we're going to have to play a little differently. So that's when I'll have more of like a voice, I guess, on those matters. But mainly now, just I've been like really hyper analyzing our comms, because coming to the team that needed work, just like the discipline, like in game, out of game, and just like the overall structure of the team and how they communicate with each other, like the tones that they use with each other, things like that. Like that's all stuff I can correct. Like I made it very clear, like, when I joined the team, like I'll give them the utmost respect, and they're going to give it to me, and they have. If I say something, I expect them to listen. Just like if they ask me a question, I'm going to give them an answer. And it's been, they've taken it really well. So, so far it's been pretty smooth sailing. Obviously we have events coming up, and, we'll obviously see how they go, but there's just, their desire to learn and to get better is just still there, although they've had all this like regional success. So it should be pretty good and easy.
They're competitors. Look, what can you ask for? And I love how, as a military man, communication in your old field is something that's very important. So I like that that's what you've identified. But look, we've spoken enough about the Soniqs. We've spoken enough about other people. This interview is about you, Gunnar, and your career. So I feel like we've done the epilogue. Let's go to the prologue now. Let's go to the start of your story. So you began PUBG as a player. That's where you started your career, and you had your stints. Was it 2018, then and around then? And you started.
Gosh, yeah, I guess, yeah. Pretty much when it was first around, and then
COVID years don't count anyway. That's what I'm saying. Those years under COVID, they don't count for years when you look back on your life. But
for real,
getting into competitive PUBG, what was it like for you as a player back then? Because obviously the meta's changed significantly, the landscape has changed a lot. For you, what was the spark that made you decide that you wanted to try to play the game competitively?
Well, at the time I was like streaming League of Legends, and like it was actually going pretty well. I had a pretty decent sized stream. I was making money and stuff, but I was just like, when I woke up, like I wasn't excited to play the game anymore. And like I knew at that point, I was just like, like I got to stream and play League of Legends. Like, man, this is going to suck. And then, next thing you know, I'm playing for 12 hours, going to sleep, waking up and repeating. But, PUBG came out. I started playing like, with Taryn, she enjoyed the game. It made it easier. I started meeting people on some of the Discords and whatnot. I was never like an insane player or anything. I usually just tried to use like my mind or like my military senses to, I guess like walk me through the game in a sense. And I had a terrible computer. I was getting like freaking 20 FPS, and then it was just like, I knew as a player I wasn't really gonna go anywhere. There's a lot of people that were a lot younger than me. The game came out, I'm in my late 20s at the time, you know what I mean? Like these guys are all just hitting 18, 19 years old with top of the line PCs and reflexes. And so I just kind of like basically, came to terms with myself, and I was just like, these guys are better than me, like I'm not going to really make something of this as a professional player. So I think I'm going to get into coaching. And before I even put a coaching announcement out, Purdy sent me a message at the time when they were on Lazarus for MPL. And it's just like, hey, like, I see like you're not playing anymore or something. Like, how would you like to coach us for MPL Phase 3? And I was just like, what the hell? Like, this guy's like reading my mind or something. Like, I literally didn't even put a post out that I was like, interested in coaching. So, that's really how it all got started, honestly. It was just Purdy shooting me that message and instantly getting me into like tier 1 coaching role. So, obviously, he's one of my best friends, so I got to give props to him and say, like, that message definitely changed my life for sure.
But again, he's one of those players that I think fits your mold. He's going to speak his mind. He's not going to beat around the bush. Even with his videos, he's one of those players that I think are genuine in the scene, and what you see
Yeah,
is what
he
you
is.
get. So
Yeah, he is like that in person too. He's, I mean, as much of a hard ass as he likes to come off as, he's one of the nicest people you ever meet. Like he'll take the shirt off his back if you needed it, and cold. I mean, he's hopefully he never listens to this, but he is probably one of the nicest people I've met my entire life, and I've met a lot of freaking people.
well, look, I can say the same. Obviously, I don't know him as well as you do. I've only been in the competitive scene in NA for about a year, but he's been someone who, anytime I've needed an ear, anytime I've needed advice, Kurt's always been there and open to talk to. So,
Yeah,
want to give my props to him as well. It's always nice to share love in the community, because people can be too quick to knock people down as well. It's something that
for sure.
that happens a lot, but. Okay, I'd like, you'd like to say that was the end of your playing career, but Gunnar, it wasn't. You've had to step in a couple of times at a couple of major events to game once or twice, and I think some of my favourite moments from watching back major events was seeing you having it a bit of fun on the stage.
Oh, yeah, no, I've had some funny moments on the stage. Like, I mean, obviously, like that's like my personality, like even like I'm assuming you're referring to like the PGIS like calls like back in the day when I was with Trigger Happy, like the white T-shirt thing, like that was my idea, putting like the sponsor stuff on there. It's just like having some fun. Like I think like those group of guys, again, I was playing with friends, like we knew we weren't the best there. We knew that it was possibly a long shot if we could qualify or something. So we didn't go in with the mindset of just having fun. We just went in with the mindset of being positive and being optimistic and just like, trying our best, but not like, ever being like mean or pessimistic to each other or something like that, and like, obviously we won a game and then people want to interview me because, I don't know, maybe so for some reason people think I'm a funny guy. I don't know, but I mean, I had some fun up there, and like we were messing around, and it was a good time. Yeah, I mean, I'll never forget that. Obviously, I mean,
well, look, the community has a lot of love for you, Gunnar. You just have to look at whenever you pop into Twitch chat, whenever teams are playing. It's like, Gunnar's here, let's go. People are always trying to get your ear, and I think you've ingrained yourself as a massive part of this community, as a player, as a coach. People really like what you bring to the table. And I want to talk about some of the successes, and I know some of the successes hurt the most as well because of how close you guys came. When you were on TSM, you came, was it fourth at
fourth,
PGC? And the sad thing is, looking back, because of the way it worked, a decision here, a decision there, and it could have been even better. But
absolutely, yeah.
What was it like at that stage being with ST? Because you'd won major events in NA. You'd won one of the first ever, I think, PCSs. The only team the only team to do it outside of the current Luminosity Gaming roster and Soniqs, which is a massive deal when you look back. What were those good times like? Because obviously you won a PCS and then you went to PGC and you were a top 4 team in the entire world.
Yeah, I mean, it was good. Obviously, like any team obviously wants to get first. I mean, at the time, New Happy and Heroic were just making a go at things, and like they obviously made it very difficult. So, I mean, in the end, we were obviously happy to get fourth, but any competitor obviously wants to win. Like it was like damn, like we may have been able to win this, but I don't think nobody was like upset or like extremely angry at the fact that we got fourth place, right? But I mean, deep down, you're just like, damn, if we did this different or that different, like we could have been up at the top making a run at that last game as well to try and win. So, and I'm sure the United guys feel the same from the last BGC, right? So where they got fourth, or Luminosity guys, sorry. So yeah, any like true competitors going to be obviously frustrated if they don't win, but at the end of the day, it goes away, and then you just focus on what's next, and like that's just, it's just like a professional athlete, like you either win the Super Bowl, lose the Super Bowl. It was just then, guess what? You have preseason, and you're back at it again to try and put yourself into position to win it, and that's kind of like what we did, or that was our approach. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, look, It's, you guys had it. Roth obviously had it at his time as well. He came very close to winning a few years back. Soniqs still the only team from NA that's really had that that international success, and I'm sure that's something that you're going to look to bring back. Because look, realistically, Soniqs have probably the biggest following in PUBG outside of Asia. It's crazy the impact that Soniqs playing in an event, whether it be scrims, whether it be actual events in NA, has to viewership. There's something about the name that draws people in.
Right.
So for me, I'm excited to see what's going to happen in the future, because even though NA's lost some players, it's lost some teams, obviously gas cans have changed to a different region. I still think that the teams in the top are pushing each other, and I think they're making improvements. So I'm excited to see how far NA can go this year, because even look at the last PGC, look at the run that Navi made. You look at that last day, I don't think anybody had them down as a team that they thought were going to win going into that last day, but they just blew everybody out of the water. So
Uba knew.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well,
Uba knew. I think outside in the smoke pit, he said that they were going to win today.
Mm-hmm.
And me and him have like this little we have a little bromance when it comes to these lands. We're always like smoking and joking outside and like hanging out with each other, and like he even said, he's like, I'm going to win, and I'm just like, all right, and look what happened. But I mean, that's the confidence. Like you have like a player like that, so experienced. Like that's the confidence he has. When he sat that back down at his desk, like that's it. He knew he was going to win. He's going to do whatever it takes to win. And then obviously, that's what happened.
And I don't think there's a single player out there who would begrudge you about winning. That event. It's so good to see him get get that success. But we've spoke a lot about your career. We spoke a lot about, Soniqs as well and some other teams. I want to talk a bit more about you on a more personal level. So gaming's a big part of your life. It's just the way it is. You streamed, you were involved. When you're not working inside of gaming, when you're not playing, what do you like to do to decompress? Like, what are your main hobbies? What do you do to step away and separate yourself from that side of your life?
Usually fishing, and a lot of times I stream it as well. My whole life I've been big into fishing and even golfing. I haven't really been golfing too much since I moved upstate, but yeah, I mean, if I wake up and it's a nice day, and we're not doing anything, like I'll go to my car right away. I'll literally go from my bed to my car with my fishing pole already in my car and just go fishing. It's just, it's relaxing, it's calming, and I mean, it helps me, like, as as a veteran, just like kind of relax and just like, chill, and especially like from the stresses of even PUBG itself and like the, expectations and everything that you have no matter what team you're on. So yeah, fishing is a big part of my life, and it's thankfully like I have a fiance that also enjoys it as much as I do, maybe even more, because sometimes I need to like, come on, we gotta go. Come on, we gotta go. Give me 10 more minutes. But yeah, thankfully I have someone like her that just constantly supports me no matter what I do, whether it's changing teams, whether it's going fishing, no matter what I do, like Taryn, obviously, and you know her, she's there for me, and she always backs me up, same with my mother, and then her mother as well, and her family. So yeah, I mean, I have a good support system, pretty much just backing me. So I mean, that's just something that is very helpful for me. But yeah, it's just something about fishing. I can't wait for it to get warmer up here.
Yeah. It's interesting that you pick those two though, fishing and golf, because to me those are the two hobbies where you do kind of disconnect yourself most and just switch off. Golf's one of the things. It's essentially going for a walk, but guaranteeing that you've got 4 or 5 hours technically to yourself. If you're playing if you're playing with friends, yeah, you'll have a little bit of a talk, but it is just disassociating yourself from the world for a while and just being in the moment. And I think fishing is the exact same. It's you go, you relax. Catching things is a bonus, yes, but again, it's just about getting outside, getting fresh air, and escaping.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone fishing before and sat there for 10 hours and didn't catch anything, didn't even have a bite. But at no point when I was driving home or going home, I was like, man, today sucked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, even when I was golfing, you know, there's just something about like, you know, being out there early in the morning, hitting a nice drive down the fairway and just like, just peace and silence, the morning fog and dew, and just taking a nice stroll down the fairway. And it's just like, you know, it's tough to replicate, but it's just, yeah, those are the two things that really would do it for me, for sure.
Or the feeling when you hit a perfect drive when someone's watching and you know they're
Oh,
watching,
yeah.
and you're going in your head, you're like, I'm going to slice this,
Yep.
this. Someone's watching, and you hit it, and everyone's like, geez, that guy's good. And you're like, I'm not good, but they think I am.
Nah,
So
I'm terrible, but thanks.
I'm going to keep going. But a funny one is I fished a lot when I was younger, a lot, but I've only ever caught one thing. But I mean, I probably
Really?
spent 100 hours fishing and caught one thing. Do you know what I caught?
What was it?
An eel. All I have ever
Really?
caught is an eel. And then it was like, do you know what? This is the first thing I caught. There's a guy with a barbecue. Let's cook this and eat it. It was the most horrific tasting thing I'd ever had in my life.
Yeah, no, you definitely have to have a palate to eat eel. That's for sure.
And it was
That's
barbecue
funny.
too. And it was probably raw. So it was like,
Oh man.
it wasn't great. But no, it is one of those dissociative hobbies, and I think a lot of people find solace and find joy in that type of thing because life is stressful, life's chaotic, it's noisy,
Yeah.
and it's nice to get away.
Exactly. Yeah,
So-
I mean, I wake up, I don't look at the news. I don't look at anything that's just not important. Like I just want to live my life, you know, and in peace. And like, obviously just like, if I could wake up and fish and then like come into scrims with a nice, relaxed, like motivated mindset and stuff like that. Like, I mean, that's kind of like what I want to do. And yeah, I don't want any nonsense and drama. So yeah.
And you spoke about military service, and it's completely up to you if you want to talk about it or not, but my question would be, how much did your military service shape you into the man you are today?
Well, quite a bit. I mean, obviously I've been asked this question before, but I'd say quite a bit, and just especially because of like what you know, I did and like my job was, and like, you know, even some of the places I've been to, like, you know, obviously from the name, I was a 0331 machine gunner in the Marine Corps. I did 3 deployments. The first one to Iraq, which was like, I don't know, like 17 years ago or something. I don't know, who knows, but maybe, yeah, 16, 17 years ago. And then I went on a Marine Expeditionary unit, and basically I trained foreign militaries. I got to visit the world, see other countries, explore. So like that was big, obviously being young and being exposed to like those things, you know, straight out of high school, as opposed to like where my friends were like still like, you know, drinking, getting ready to go to college, doing all this, you know, like, you know, it matures you pretty quick. And then I went to Haiti after the earthquake in 2010 on a humanitarian mission. You know, my unit was the first Marines down in the epicenter in Leogane, Haiti. You know, and that was just like a crazy life-changing experience for me. You know, just because like, you know, when you're young, and like a lot of these guys, like I try to even tell my players and stuff. I mean, I've even had a personal talk with Tig sometimes, you know, like you don't really realize how good you really have it, you know. And when you're young, it's just like, you know, you're young, making money, stuff like that. Like everything is good, you know, but, you know, I learned very fast, like how lucky I was just to be in this situation, you know, I was in back home, of, you know, having a supportive, you know, family that, and having a school that I can go to. And so, yeah, I mean, Haiti definitely was a life-changing experience for me. And, you know, obviously I was happy I was there and I could help a lot of people. But, you know, seeing like the struggle and stuff that they go to in some of the other countries that I've been to and other experiences that I've went through, like really matured me instantly. I mean, by the time I was done with the military, you know, I was 22 years old, heading into college. And I mean, I didn't even really hang out with my other friends as much, because it just like, it almost felt like I didn't fit in as much, you know, like I stopped drinking. You know, I used to drink. And it was just, you Yeah, it was raw. It was a weird and rough transition, I guess, at first back into the civilian life. But I think it humbled me as a person, and it kind of molded me into who I am today. It was just like I wake up in the morning, I'm just thankful to be alive. It's just that's the first thought. I wake up, make my bed, I'm happy to be alive, and I'm motivated to just do like what what the task is of the day, whether it's scrims or something. Like that's literally just my mindset every day, because I've seen the other side of it, where people just wake up and they don't have anything that motivates them, or anything that they believe that they could live for. And like, obviously, if anyone ever feels like that, they could reach out to me, and like I could talk. I would always talk to anybody, and be there for anybody, just because I've been there at one point. So I think it changed a lot in me and matured me quite a bit.
I think you and the guys who were on the old Rise roster as well, same sort of mindset as well, about making sure that if people ever need to talk or need someone to be there, they're always there for them as well. So shout out to those guys. So I think being Irish and being from a country where historically we're neutral, the only military service people would do here would be peacekeeping missions with the UN. Even then, they say they've seen tough things. I have a friend who's served in the US military, plays American football with me. Elite mentality. Like, I mean, he wants to win. He's got that. There is a mission to do. We got to win it. He was wounded in the war. I think it was clearing houses in Iraq. He was the point person, first person in the building, and he got shot in the chest. And again, he said it changed his life forever. And
yeah, definitely.
Again, I know that it's not as big a deal in Ireland, but I think on behalf of all the US viewers watching, thanks for everything you've done, because I know it means a lot to people that you were involved in these peacekeeping missions and helping people. But look, I think we got a bit deep. Things got a bit deep there, Gunnar. I think maybe we should.
That's how. Look, if you talk to me, I'm gonna give it to you real. I'm gonna tell you how it is. Like, that's just how I am. I told you coming into before this week. This could be an 8-hour podcast if you talk to me. And most people know that when they talk to me, I'm willing to open up, and I'm willing to, lend an ear, or run my mouth. And you never know. Maybe someone listening to this, it helps them out a little bit. Like, we could sit here and talk about PUBG all day. Everyone talks about PUBG, so it is what it is. Everyone has their own lives, and I do go on some rants sometimes, and I apologize, but hopefully it's for the good.
Again, people speaking their mind. I think we need more of that in the world. Again, people who are not afraid to say how they feel, because you solve a lot of problems by just being honest, and I think everyone could do with being that way a bit more. But I want to talk about more exciting things. So we are coming up to the start. Well, we are at the start of the new competitive year. You guys had, I think, a slow start would be the best way to maybe put it, to PAS, but you still qualified pretty easily, making it through to this weekend. How excited are you for the year? You're guaranteed 2 international trips. If things go well, you might even be involved in the PUBG Nations Cup again with the US. Are you excited to get back to a year of traveling and finally seeing PUBG open up its doors again to allow for international competition?
Yeah, I am. I really am. There's nothing is really better than the personal experience and interactions that you have with your team and other people. Online, obviously it's tough. You can't see really who you're talking to. Who you're talking to, but if I'm talking, who knows, someone could be on the phone or something like that. It's just in person, I'm really big on the personal interaction. If I'm talking to someone, I want them to, look at me when I'm talking to them. And if they're talking to me, I'm going to look at them, and it's just so different, just being, in person. And I think that's why a lot of the teams over in Asia that are living in the team houses and stuff, it's such a huge advantage really, because they have that personal interaction on a daily basis. If we're doing VOD review, everyone is there. You could tell everyone is focused because you're just sitting next to them, right? So yeah, I can't wait. I'm so excited.
You're hoping that the Soniqs post-event video this year is going to be a lot more exciting and maybe successful. Well, successful is the wrong word because I think that video did really well, but the team will be more successful when we get to those events.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, whether it is or isn't is going to be, it's good at least that the people, they kind of keep it real and let their fans actually see like what goes, down at these events, because it's very stressful. Like as a player, as a coach, anyone involved, like these events are stressful, but I think like, my experience and everything, I could help, with the Soniqs guys, especially watching that video. Like, I mean, I even put, when I watched that video, I put myself in that situation. I felt like I could, help and, do better, just like, just from a mentality standpoint, but yeah, we'll see.
Look, it was a good video anyway for the viewer, because again, it let viewers get to know the players more, because we had this talk the first time we spoke about the interview. There's not enough content around the people in the scene. It seems to me that even as a caster, unless I'm personally reaching out and talking to people, it can feel like they're just a name on a screen, because there's not a lot of interviews, there's not a lot of content. A lot of the players don't even stream, so they don't have a community built up. So getting people like you on and getting you to tell your story and the other guests, it means a lot to me too, because I get to know people better. It's something I want to do. And so this is where I want to ask the last kind of question around coaching. So we kind of had a joke. There was a tweet that went about it earlier in the week where someone was saying they were questioning the value that a coach would bring to a PUBG roster. And I'm very much in the camp where a good coach elevates players and puts players in a position to succeed. And you've seen it in the past. No matter what sport you're watching, whether it's esports, whether it's US football, whether it's, Premier League, really good coaches provide the players with the tools to improve. And that's how a lot of coaches, I think, value themselves, is how much the team has improved under their tutelage. What do you bring as a coach that is really going to benefit Soniqs?
Yeah, I mean, like, I briefly went over the tweet. Obviously, I read a little bit of it and then closed it because I just didn't agree with it. But I don't get involved in any of the drama or something, so it's not, I'm not really one to reply to something like that. But obviously, I mean, it really depends on the coach. But coaches in PUBG can provide a lot. The main issue now is the disconnect between the regions of how much value a coach can have. So for instance, in the EU, they're able to communicate with their players, right? We don't have that. But most recently there was a rule change in NA where we can become more interactive, right? So, yeah, I mean, I think me personally, I mean, we kind of went over it earlier, coming into the Soniqs, I didn't really want to change anything regionally that we did, right? So that's not anything I did, but just basically the stuff that I talked about, I'm really good with comms and communications and tones with players and how they kind of affect the confidence of their teammates and stuff like that. If I'm, say me and you are on a team together and, you hit a really nice shot or something,
Never happened. Never happened.
Hypothetically, you hit a nice shot and no one says anything. And it's just we get a point out of it. But, your teammates nice shot. Hey, good shot. It's just that's something that obviously will kind of give you confidence, right? And carry over. So I've been big right now on building confidence within the team, hyping each other up, being very respectful to each other, making sure there's no egos on the team, making sure, everyone is putting in the work. I mean, I'm recording basically POV of them playing, and then I'm providing them the comms. We're going over the comms, we're finding issues, we're finding things that have, been bad habits that they've had in the past, but I won't tolerate, I won't allow it to happen. And it's just, everyone's been so like positive about it, like like owning up to their own mistakes. Like that was an issue with the Soniqs. I'll just go ahead and say it. Like sometimes it's with every team actually. Like I'll be completely honest. It's a competitor's mentality. You don't want to be wrong. You don't want to be the reason why your team lost a game. You don't want to be the reason why you did poorly. And it's a competitive mindset. But if you have like people that hold themselves accountable and hold their teammates accountable, then you could really create something good. And I think that's like what I'm bringing into the Soniqs right now, is making sure that they hold each other accountable and making sure they hold their teammates accountable, because I'm going to, and and I want them to hold me accountable too as well. I've told them, hey, if I'm not doing something that you want done, you let me know and I'll get it done. And if I have that, if I give that to them, like I expect it in return. If I want them to do something, if I say they did something poorly, like it's just, I mean, if you did something poorly, you just got to own up to it, and because you're never going to learn. You're never going to learn unless you just take accountability. And it was big in the military, and it's going to be big on this team as well.
Yeah, I like that. I really like that answer. So we're getting pressed on time. I know that we've got a couple of minutes until you've got a meeting. So my last question of the interview is,
yes, sir.
Outside of STK, who you've coached in the past, Luminosity and Soniqs, the kind of the big team, and then the two top from last year, any players going into this weekend or next weekend that you think have that X factor? You look at them and think this guy is a real game changer and somebody that you think is potentially up there with the best players in the region.
Well, I mean, I've Sparking for one. I think I think the value of a player like him isn't really noticed at times. He's just just from watching VODs and really just watching him like in scrims and or other professional matches. Like I think his new team is something to really watch. It just really depends on how they kind of fit into the lobby, I guess, and like obviously being new, but I mean he's always a player that's just impressed me. Obviously, like you said, like outside of my team, but so him, like I think I was very happy SDK picked up Vegas, because like Vegas has subbed with us multiple times when I was on the team, and I've always enjoyed the way he kind of fit in with us when we were on SDK. Like he had a lot of respect for us, and I think that's why he's doing very well with STK currently. Obviously, it's a small sample size, but I think him as a player, he's a person that like, if the people are around him, like if the people around him are like, I guess like, working to get better, building each other up, and like, hyping each other up, like he's just like, he hasn't hit like his skill ceiling yet. So I was very, very happy to see that Vegas was picked up by them, because I've always been a supporter of him. So yeah, I mean like those two, and then obviously like we talked about someone like the dark horse type teams that have a chance to really qualify. Like obviously recently, I mean obviously Yahoo didn't make it. But like they're always like kind of that team that could just like have like a freaking 80-90 point day. But like Poonage recently said like he's done playing PUBG, which is pretty sad, because I've been competing against him and like coaching and just seeing him for a while, so that's kind of upsetting. But yeah, I think the biggest X factor is just going to be Sparking, really. He's just a crazy player. Like I mean he hasn't hit his skill ceiling yet either, which is frightening. So yeah.
And it's scary to think that he's playing with Gizera, another young gunner who I think has a big future. But look, I think looking at the time, we've got a hard stop. So guys, we're probably going to have to call this here. I know that Gunnar and I could talk for another few hours.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
But if you haven't, please give Gunnar a follow on his socials. Make sure to keep up with him on Twitter to keep up to date with what he's doing. Obviously, follow the PUBG channel to keep an eye on what Soniqs are able to achieve this weekend. Gunnar, as I would say, you're a real one. You've been great to me since I've come into the scene. I respect the way that you speak, so it's been a pleasure to have you on this podcast. I'm glad that we finally got this done after what feels like months of trying to get it organized. But
yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thank you. I appreciate you wanting me on this podcast, knowing I'll talk forever.
Well, look, best of luck in next weekend's PAS. Best of luck with your new project with Soniqs. I think a lot of people are going to be rooting for your success because you're a likable guy. For everyone watching at home, I'm going to thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this one. If you have, please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. But most importantly, give Gunnar all the love he deserves. Give him a like on Twitter. And I guess thanks for watching, everyone. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and thanks for watching, everyone.